Welcome in, everyone, to another edition of Catfish on Ice with your hosts, Chad Minton and Rich Howe. Welcome back, Rich, to
I'm back.
Catfish on Ice. You missed an episode, but it was for very good reason because you went to see the Preds beat the Vancouver Canucks. Tell us about your experience before we get into episode 102 of Catfish on Ice tonight.
What a great game to go to, man. Like, it was so fun. It's always a blast. The crowd was really into it. Preds came off with the victory. It was just really good. Good environment, lots of fun. Was a little freaked out a little bit. You know, the Canucks scored the first goal, and then Predators got two quick ones, and then Ekman Larson got that real weird goal, and then after that, man, it was just the Preds just put the screws to them and came out with the win. Man, it was awesome, so cool.
Yeah, there was like a scoring barrage in that game. Preds go up 2-1, but then Ekman Larson gets the goal for the Canucks. You had 3 goals scored in about a 3-minute time span between the two teams.
The place was nuts, man. When the Predators, they got that the first one, and then Forsberg had that big slap shot that went in. The place went nuts. I mean, it was awesome, and then it kind of deflated a little bit, but it.
Well, let me ask you, Rich. I got to ask you, how much did Bridgestone Arena erupt when Forsberg scored that power play goal, doing his best Alexander Ovechkin impersonation on the power play? I mean, he was just like hook, line, and sinker over there in that circle, looking just like Alex Ovechkin out there on this power play, just getting set up for that one timer.
It was perfect. I mean, the place went nuts. I mean, everybody's so happy about the way Forsberg's playing and stuff, and just whenever he gets a goal, man, everybody just gets so excited. So it was. I mean,
what a great way to go into the All-Star break. This is the All-Star edition of Catfish on Ice. This is episode 102 with Chad Minton and Rich Howe, your host, presented by DraftKings. Rich was at the Canucks game to round out before we go into the All-Star break. Had a great time. It was awesome seeing him there.
Yep.
I didn't see you on TV. I looked for you, Rich. I looked for you on TV.
I don't.
But you have a lookalike. Rich, you have a lookalike in the Preds fan base. I thought it was you. Really? I actually paused the DVR to make sure it wasn't you.
That's funny.
But it wasn't you. This guy wasn't you. I had to look at it for like a good 3 seconds. I'm like, is that Rich? And I'm
That's amazing.
I'm like, nah, it's not.
The cool
Rich.
thing, the game was really awesome. But before the game, we got to go eat some Hattie B's hot chicken.
There you go.
So you got to get that when you go to Nashville. It was amazing. So
awesome. Well, I'm glad you had a good time. I'm glad you got to see the Preds get a big win to go into the All-Star break. And this is the All-Star edition here of Catfish and Ice, episode 102. This is what we're getting into tonight. We are going to open up the episode in the opening face-off talking about NHL All-Star Weekend, which is upon us. On Friday, we will have the skills competition. And on Saturday, it will be the actual game itself, the NHL All-Star game. I know a lot of fans are very torn about how they feel about this. They're like, you didn't let the NHL players go to the Olympics, but you're going to have this All-Star weekend in Las Vegas. I know a lot of fans are upset about it. Let's just enjoy it for what it is. How about that? Let's just go ahead. I mean, it's not ideal circumstances, but what is in this climate that we find ourselves in right now with COVID and with everything else going on in the world? Let's just enjoy watching these NHL players have some fun, get recognized for their talents, and this skills competition. There are some fun events they got lined up that I'm actually really excited to watch. I don't know about you, Rich.
Oh, I am, man. The All-Star game is so fun to watch, like you said, because it's just these guys just out there having fun playing hockey. There's no points on the line. You know, they're joking around with each other. They're just out there having fun. Lots of shots. But then the skills competition, those are the fun things to watch. I really like those. So especially the stuff they got lined up this year. So
exactly.
It's always a good time, man. I love it.
We're going to get into that. So our opening face-off, we're going to get into how we feel about the skills competition. Of course, we've got 2 Preds players in this year's All-Star game and All-Star weekend, and that is Yossi Saros, who initially got selected, but Roman Yossi gets in even though he wasn't initially selected due to Nathan MacKinnon having an unfortunate injury leading up to the All-Star break. He had to actually have nose surgery.
Right.
He had a really bad facial fracture. And that's unfortunate because Nathan MacKinnon's one of the best players in the game. So you hate to see a great player like him get taken out. So that part you don't like to see, but we are very, very happy to see Roman Yossi get into the All-Star game where he should be as one of the NHL's best defensemen. He should have been selected already way back before the Nathan MacKinnon injury. But so he's in. So we got 2 Preds players, not only going to be in the NHL All-Star game, but they're also going to be in separate skills competition challenges. So we're going to talk about that.
Yep. What was cool about – go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say the cool thing about Yossi going to the All-Star game, I saw on Twitter he had planned on going to Miami this weekend with his family. But then, like, if you follow the players on Twitter or like Instagram, a lot of them went on this vacation. Like Nick Cousins, the Duchesnes are they're down there too. Matt Benning. So I'm assuming Roman Yossi would have been with all of them. So he said he was more than glad to cancel that trip.
Well, Rich, I'm pretty sure if you're Matt Benning or if you're Nick Cousins, they would trade places with Roman Yossi in a heartbeat.
Absolutely,
to be at that NHL All-Star weekend.
Absolutely,
but yeah, that's pretty cool though. I mean, Miami's a pretty good destination this time of year for these hockey players. They've been getting beat up all year. They've been in these getting hit in cold hockey rinks all year, traveling to cold environments. Can you blame them for wanting to go to sunny Miami this time of year? You can't.
No.
But so
that's funny.
Yeah, this is the last second. This is like a really last minute thing. Roman Yossi getting added in here for Nathan MacKinnon. So we'll get more into that. We're going to do a little prospect talk tonight. There's no game, of course. The Preds won't play again for like another week. They got a good little break here. They're in second place in the division at the All-Star break. Who saw that coming?
Neither one of us. That's for sure.
We're not going to lie. We're not going to sit here and lie to you and said that we predicted this. And guess what? Even if we did lie to you, all you would have to do is go back and listen to the tape. We definitely didn't predict this, but you know what? We love seeing it. We love being wrong about this team. So that's where we're at with it. So we're going to get some prospect talk because here's the thing. That's all we could talk about this time last year was all these prospects coming in. We're going to put an injection of youth into this team, right? That's what we were talking about. Yep. That feeling isn't as high this year, of course.
No, it is not.
But it never hurts to think ahead. It never hurts to plan ahead. And so we are going to list our top 5 current prospects for the Preds who are next in line to make the NHL jump.
Who are close.
That doesn't mean we're ranking these prospects on best prospects. These are the most ready prospects.
Yeah,
we're kind of framing it a little differently here tonight because we're going to start looking ahead to 2022. And some of these prospects we're going to list for you later in this episode are prospects who are right in line to challenge for a starting spot next season. Probably not this season. I think the Preds roster is pretty set.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
Definitely going into next season, some of these prospects we list off, that's what we're going to be listing off here.
Yep.
What else do we got here? Let's start thinking about playoff matchups here.
Potential
playoff matchups. Of course, the Preds could completely fall apart. They've got over a 95% chance to make the playoffs, according to moneypuck.com.
Those are good odds.
But
very good odds.
Rich, do you remember what their chances of not making the playoffs were last year and they still made it? Let's hope it doesn't flip.
I can't handle the flip with how good they're playing. Oh my gosh.
If it flipped on us like it did last year, but in the wrong direction.
Ugly. Mike Twitter's on. Is that a wave? I think that's a wave.
It looks like a clap. No, that's a clap.
Oh, it's a clap? Okay, I can't.
Yeah, he's clapping his hands.
Oh, gotcha.
What's up, Mike Twitter? Good to see you tonight, man.
He had a funny tweet about I tweeted that I was on hat trick watch when Philip Forsberg could have got a hat trick, and he said something about throwing a hat down to the arena, and I was like, there's no way I could have thrown a hat down to the ice from where I was sitting. Couldn't happen.
But hey, Rich, those seats you sit up top there, I know they're really far back, but those are some of the best seats you can have.
We were actually in not the upper section. We were in the 2 section, 216.
Okay.
Not the bowl, not the top, but right in the middle. So right in the center. Great seat.
Unless you're sitting in the first 10 rows or almost on the glass.
Yeah.
I love sitting in those corner seats where you're getting a diagonal view of the ice, upper deck.
Yep.
Kind of where cell block 303 is at.
Yep. Those are good.
That's like the best seats. That's the best view of the ice. You can see everything. I mean, there's no shame in sitting upper deck at Bridgestone Arena. There is no shame at all.
When we were at the Boston game, we were in the 2 section, the middle section, but in one of those corners at a diagonal. They were great. I mean, I loved it. That's where I want to sit all the time, actually. So
yeah, and so we're going to go back to our topic here. We're going to talk best playoff matchups, potential playoff matchups for the Preds. Who could they face? Who were we would feel good about this going in if they can end up matching up with this team in the first round. We're going to speculate. We're going to look at it, figure it out, look at the standings, kind of maybe not predict, but try to figure out what would be the best potential playoff opponent for the Preds in the first round. We'll look over the entire NHL, some other really good potential first-round playoff matchups that would be a lot of fun to watch as a fan. We'll get into that. We got to get into some Winter Olympics talk. I know it's a very hot topic. Some people aren't even supporting the Winter Olympics for their own personal reasons. All I can say is this. We support the athletes. You can hate where the Olympics are being held. You can hate all the politics surrounding it. We're not going to get into all that. I support the athletes that are over there. Most of these athletes are amateur athletes who are trying to fulfill a lifelong dream. They can't choose where these Olympics are held. They can't control all the things that are going on in this world, all the complicated things. But we support the athletes. And since we're a hockey podcast, we are going to look at the men's and women's Team USA hockey teams. The Team USA women's team already played a game, and they won today,
5-2.
Earlier today. They looked really good. They are the defending gold medal champions. So great job, ladies. So we are going to give our Olympic athletes a lot of love tonight to round out the episode. And, of course, it's Thursday. We will do our battle for the Central Power Rankings as we're at the All-Star break. So, Rich, we got a lot to get into. I hope you're ready.
It's a big episode planned.
Just because the Preds are on the All-Star break doesn't mean we're taking a break.
No, we can't take a break.
Can't take a break. We love doing this too much. We love doing this too much. We love bringing Catfish on Ice to you. And so here we are on this Thursday heading into the NHL All-Star break. And with that, let's talk about the All-Star game this year for the NHL. Yeah. It's being held in Las Vegas. That should be very entertaining in and of itself.
It's always a spectacle in Las Vegas, that's for sure.
Yes, it is. And let's go ahead and look at the fact that Yossi Saros is getting his first NHL All-Star selection, what we think is probably first of many. And Roman Yossi is getting his fourth All-Star selection due to Nathan McKinnon having to pull out with his surgery that he had to get. And, of course, a player like that, he's not going to risk playing in this tournament when he can, or not tournament, but in this All-Star game when he needs to get healthy for his team, who's going to be battling for a Stanley Cup down the stretch. So
absolutely they will.
So both Roman Yossi and Yossi Saros will be in their own skills competition challenges. Let's talk about Roman Yossi because that's the really interesting one, Rich. The NHL is bringing out a brand new event. It's called the Fountain Face-Off.
Yes.
And at the Bellagio, there's going to be a floating rink where players will take a boat. This sounds like a movie. This sounds like a sketch, like an SNL a sketch or skit
something
or something
weird, something strange.
But they're going to take a boat out to this rink, and whoever can hit the 5 targets the fastest will move on to the final round to face off against each other. Wow. It's got me intrigued. It sounds cheesy, but it has me intrigued.
Well, they also said that could be affected by the mist of the fountain. And you've been to Vegas before, haven't you? Have you been to Vegas?
I actually have never been to Vegas.
Okay. So on Vegas Boulevard, like the main stretch, it is like super windy all the time for some reason. And they said that the wind on the boulevard in front of the Bellagio and the mist from the fountain could be factored into this skill competition somehow.
Well,
so
I gotta tell you, it's definitely not going to be like anything normal. It's going to be weird. It's going to be probably a little weird for these players to be floating around. And I'm sorry, but I know that these players they're competitors ultimately, and all these players are going to want to win. Let's look at who's in this. So it's 8 players that are going to be in this fountain face-off challenge, along with Roman Yossi. You got 7 other participants. Here's 2 players that really stand out. If you're just going off of star power, outstanding, great NHL players, Jonathan Huberdeau of the Florida Panthers and Mark Stone of the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yep.
You've also got Claude Giroux in there for the Flyers, who is in a lot of trade rumor circles. Jordan Eberle of the Kraken. You've got Nick Suzuki of the Canadiens, Zach Werenski of the Blue Jackets. So an interesting pool of players there. Like, I wouldn't say it's just loaded with superstars in those choices, but Mark Stone, Jonathan Huberdeau, and Roman Yossi, those are your top 3.
Those are your
that you would expect to do well.
Yeah. Here, Mike Twitter says we should do a live podcast from Vegas when the Preds play Vegas.
All right. Wow. That would be a lot of fun if we're still around at that point, which I plan on it. We will look into that. We got a year to plan for it.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Vegas is crazy. Crazy place.
So the fountain face-off. So Rich, what are your expectations for this event? Do you think Roman Yossi will I feel like he's a good choice for this event. I mean, he's got accuracy. We've seen him shoot from the top of the circle, and he's got some pinpoint accuracy that just beats goaltenders. He's very fast. He's got a fast shot release. So I don't know. I feel like he could do really well in an event like this.
I think so too. I know Montreal is like bottom of the league right now, but Nick Suzuki's actually a really good player too.
Oh yeah, he is.
So I think he can do well in it. But Roman Yossi, I think he's got a good shot. I don't want to sound like a homer or anything, but he's got a pretty accurate shot. I mean,
I would say it's between, if you're just going off of pure predictions and what you think is going to happen, Roman Yossi and Jonathan Huberdeau are the 2 that I feel like should be your top 2 favorites in this event.
It'll be interesting, that's for sure, because just hear them the way they describe it, taking a boat out there and the rink's floating or whatever. It sounds typical Vegas to me. So,
oh yeah, for sure. And the last thing I need to see is Roman Yossi slipping and falling into the water and straining something. That would be typical. That would be typical Preds luck. Like, Roman Yossi will miss the next 2 weeks of the season because he fell out of the boat.
Yeah, we don't need any of that.
I'm sure they're going to take plenty of precautions. I'm just saying, I
hope so. Well, I know last year they were shooting off these big, huge platforms. Did you watch it last year? They had like these big targets out on the rink, but they were standing like way up in the stands shooting pucks down these targets. It looked a little sketchy, but now they're in the water. So, although it's not that deep, but
I'm all for it. I'm watching it.
Yeah, I'm all for it. Oh yeah, definitely. I'm not going to.
And then let's talk. And then UC Saros is going to be in the save streak, which is the more traditional skills competition. It's been around for a while. Pecorine was in this competition.
Yeah.
very straightforward rules here. It's like, players are going to be, people are going to be firing these pucks at a goaltender, and let's see how many saves you can make in a row.
Some big names in this, though.
Like you would expect, all the big names are in there. Frederik Andersen's in there, Jack Campbell, Andre Vasilevsky, Cam Talbot. Those are some of the ones. Thatcher Demko's in there. Good luck picking who you think is going to win that one. I mean,
Saros should have a pretty good chance because he gets like kind of hung out to dry on breakaways quite a bit.
He's used to having to make 40+ saves in real NHL games.
Yeah, in real NHL games when they're barreling down on you. So
this save streak NHL skills competition thing should be a walk in the park for him then, right?
I would think so, but who knows?
I'm sure the All-Star game jitters will be there for Saros. It's his first time being here. Yeah. So I'm sure there'll be that. And but it'll be fun to watch him, see how he does in this. Pecorine didn't do too hot in his last appearance in this challenge. He only made 2 saves in a row before being knocked out when he did it last. I think that was 2019 when he participated in it.
That's right.
But
I remember that.
He only made 2 saves in a row. But
hey man.
Yeah. Let's look at the actual All-Star game itself. And you look at these rosters, and I gotta say, I really feel like the Central has a really good roster now that you add Roman Yossi into the mix.
That helps. That's for sure.
I mean, obviously you're losing Nathan McKinnon, so it's like you're swapping one great player for another great player. But just looking at the Central Division roster, it's pretty good. I mean, you think about Roman Yossi and Cal McCarr being out there together, that's going to be fun to watch. Seeing those two similar type players in a 3-on-3 format, that's going to be really good. I mean, the Central Division's got a good roster with Saros and Cam Talbot as their goaltenders.
Yep.
I like their chances. The Pacific roster also looks really strong to me, though.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up. I lost it. Daggone it.
Well, if you're talking about the Pacific roster, I mean, you've got Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl on there, of course. So they're going to have ridiculous chemistry.
Absolutely.
In the 3-on-3 format.
Yeah, the East might be hurting a little bit because they said that Alex Ovechkin's not going to be participating.
Which was that I hated seeing that. I was looking forward to seeing him.
Yeah. He got
be in the All-Star festivities.
But he didn't participate last year either. He was nominated or made it in, and he declined to play. He said he needed to rest. So, yeah, I don't know.
I don't blame any of these players for bowing out when they're just not feeling, up to speed for it. I mean, why would you risk the rest of your season for an All-Star game? I mean, you shouldn't do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. But yeah, the Central and the Pacific, they do look pretty strong. So we'll see what happens. Of course, the Atlantic has a couple of the dudes from Tampa Bay, which is always scary as well. So,
but yeah, I'm looking at the Central Division. I mean, you've got Kaprizov from Minnesota, of course, Nazem Kadri, Alex DeBrincat. You got a lot of goal scorers, of course, just pure lethal goal scorers.
Yep.
Joe Pavelski is going to be the team's captain after McKinnon was taken out. I'm sorry, I'm not just saying this. I mean, I have no bias towards the Central Division just because the Preds are in the Central Division. I actually think the Central Division has the best team, top to bottom.
Yeah, it looks like it. I agree with that.
But you look at the Pacific roster, they've got Johnny Gaudreau, they've got Leon Draisaitl, they've got Timo Meier, who's having an excellent season for San Jose. Troy Terry's having a really good season in his first All-Star selection. You've got Mark Stone for Vegas, Alex Pietrangelo for Vegas, and their 2 goaltenders are John Gibson and Thatcher Demko. So I feel like it's going to come down between the Pacific and the Central. Those are my – I mean, I look at the Eastern Conference teams, and they're good, but I feel like they're top-heavy.
I agree with that. Yeah, I think so too. I'm just looking at the Atlantic. You got Huberdeau, Bergeron, Austin Matthews. So,
Stamkos.
Stamkos.
I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
It'll be fun. I mean, it's so hard to predict. It's All-Star game. But I think the Central Division has a really good chance to win it this year. Yeah. So I'm really excited to watch it. We will be live tweeting the skills competition on Friday night. So stay tuned for that. We will be around from the Catfish and Ice podcast account to react live to the skills competition. Should be a lot of fun. It's nice to see the All-Star game back this year, even though we would like to see the NHL players in the Olympics as well.
So like, what's your favorite besides the game, like of the skills competition? Like, what's your favorite thing?
Favorite event?
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta say, it's usually for me, it's the hardest shot.
That's what I wrote down too. That's my favorite thing
I guess Shea Weber kind of did it for me because that was the first time I remember ever being really that interested in it. Yep. And Shea Weber doing the hardest shot was like must-watch TV for Preds fans back in the day. Yeah. And so, who's in the hardest shot this year? Let's take a look at it. I got it down here. I'll pull it up real quick. Hardest shot. It's only 4 participants. We got Adam Pelech for the Islanders, Timo Meier for the Sharks, Victor Hedman for the Lightning, and Tom Wilson for the Capitals. Wow. That's an interesting one there. Go ahead and put my money down for Victor Hedman on that one.
I'm thinking so too. He takes those big, huge shots from the blue line, man, and they're pretty speedy. So.
I really don't know about. I mean, I'm sure Tom Wilson has a laser rocket of a shot too, but I'm going Victor Hedman there. But
I think
that'll
so
be
too.
Other than watching our Preds players, Roman Yossi and Yossi Saros and their events, that's going to be the event that I'm most interested in is the hardest shot.
Yeah. Mike Twitter voted he likes hardest shot as well. And then this is kind of funny. Hardest shot, did you see PK Subban is in the new Jackass movie? Yes, I did see that today.
That's right up. That's right in PK Subban's wheelhouse right there. I mean, Does that even surprise you that much? I mean, no. PK Subban, if he can get publicity, he will get publicity.
Yeah. It would have been good if they could have got somebody who was a little more accurate maybe. But
I mean, that's pretty funny that he's going to be in there. But
yeah, so they were testing. I saw like a little picture of it. So they had one of the guys like tied to the goal to the net, and they were doing a testing cups. So you can just imagine what's going on right there. So
yeah. Well, good for PK Subban. He's not having the best of hockey days anymore. He's had a great career. We love PK. I love PK Subban.
I did too.
He was outstanding while he was here in Nashville, and we know all about all of his philanthropy and all the great things he does in the community.
Absolutely.
So you'll never hear me disparage what PK Subban does. He's a class act, a great person. Everything he does off the ice is positive, and he likes to be in the limelight. I mean, that's just who he is. He's a media personality, and so it doesn't really surprise me that much. Have you ever seen the show Impractical Jokers, Rich?
Oh yeah.
Did you ever see the time they got punished? They're Devils fans apparently because they're from that they're from New York area, and I can't remember which two of them it was, but they had to. Two of them got punished at the same time. Right. And they had to during an intermission at a Devils home game, they had to take shots from actual Devils players.
Oh wow!
They were wearing protective gear, but they had to take like actual shots. And I'm telling you, they got pummeled.
Good.
It was.
I think I do remember that. Yeah, it was good.
If you can pull it up on YouTube, I'm sure you can find it. But it is hilarious.
That's good stuff.
But so I imagine that's going to be something like that. Probably even a little more raunchy, probably.
I would say so.
Yeah, that's probably how it's going to go. But good thing bringing that up, Mike Twitter, because that was pretty funny. I saw that today about PK Subban in the Jackass movie. All right, so we got another event, the accuracy shooting.
Yep.
Accuracy shooting. That'll be that for me. That just doesn't draw me in as much because I mean, like they're all accurate. They're all NHL players. But you're gonna have Leon
where they're setting up
targets. Yeah, they'll set up targets, and it's got to be super accurate. Yeah,
because there's something where they're doing like they're setting up like targets are like cards.
Yeah, I don't think that's what it is.
Okay, so that's something
that
else.
might be what it is.
I don't remember what it's called. Oh, it's called 21 and 22. They have to like hit cards to get to 21.
Yeah, I saw that. I think this is something different here.
Okay.
I think this is I think this is just accuracy shooting. You got Leon Draisaitl, Clayton Keller, Sebastian Aho. I'm just naming some of the big ones here. Johnny Gaudreau, Patrice Bergeron,
Marchessault,
Jake Yensel. I mean, you got some good ones there.
Yeah.
All start power. And then, of course, your fastest skater, which I think Roman Yossi competed in the fastest skater once. I could be wrong on that, but maybe in his earlier years when he first got selected to the All-Star game.
That makes sense.
But you've got your fastest skater. You've got Chris Kreider in there. You've got Jordan Kyrou in there. Connor McDavid is going to be in the fastest skater.
I'm going to put my money probably on him.
Are you sure about that, Rich? Are you sure about you're really looking over Cal McCarr on this one?
Wow. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Connor McDavid is super fast, though.
You got Dylan Larkin in here as well. That's going to be fun. I might have to change my pick from the hardest shot because that's a loaded set of participants there for fastest skater. And you throw Connor McDavid in there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, the skills competition's got me kind of intrigued this year. I'm really into it. Like, I'm definitely going to be watching on Friday night.
Absolutely.
All right, so you're taking Connor McDavid to win the fastest skater. I'm taking Cal McCarr.
All right, we'll see what happens.
We'll go back and look at the tape. We'll update everybody.
Check it out.
Are we both taking Roman Yossi for his event? Let's go ahead and do it. Come on.
Yeah, we'll just do it.
We'll put our money on Roman Yossi.
He's really accurate, so.
We'll put our money on that one. Hardest shot, I think we both took Victor Hedman, right?
Victor Hedman, definitely.
And then save streak, what are we doing? Are we gonna stay loyal to Yossi Saros? I'm going Andrei Vasilevsky. I'm sorry.
Yeah. A couple weeks ago, I would have took Jack Campbell, but I don't know now.
This is completely different, though. This is like, I'm going Andrei Vasilevsky.
That's probably a good pick.
Just because he's a giant, and I feel like in an event like this, it's going to be perfect for him because it's not like a regular game where he has to guess as much. He's just going to be sitting there taking up almost the entire net, just like waiting for pucks to come at him. This is Vasilevsky. He's probably going to win it. I'll be surprised if he doesn't.
His pads are so massive.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a big dude. But he's not that big. I think he wears really big pads.
So he's my prediction. Who's yours? Go ahead and just give me one.
I'm going to say.
You're going to go against your boy Juice, aren't you?
I'll go with Jack Campbell. Man, I think he's going to have the jitters, man. I think
he is. All right. This proves we're not homers on this podcast. We did take Roman Yossi, but we did not take Yossi Saros. Don't take it personal, Juice.
No.
It's your first All-Star event of many, and it's just the skills competition. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But, all right, you're taking Jack Campbell. I'm taking Andrei Vasilevsky. All right, let's move on here in episode 102 of Catfish on Ice with Chad Mitten and Rich Howe, brought to you by DraftKings and part of the Hockey Podcast Network, the All-Star edition as we are at the All-Star break. And the Preds are sitting in second place with 60 points.
Yes.
And they're only trailing the mighty Colorado Avalanche in the division. They're 1 point ahead of the Minnesota Wild. They are 3 points ahead of the Blues. And then they got a really good cushion between them and the Dallas Stars, who are at 48 points. If you look at the wild card positions right now, you've got the St. Louis Blues in the first wild card position, and you've got the Calgary Flames in the second wild card position with 52 points. So the Preds had themselves a nice little cushion from being in the playoff picture, which is why you see those 95% playoff odds from your people like moneypuck.com.
Yep. So right now they would go against Minnesota if it ended today. So,
ooh, interesting. Well, you know what? I got something to say about that potential matchup when we get to that part of the episode. Right? So stay tuned for that. But up next in episode 102, we are going to go ahead and rank our top 5 current Preds prospects who are next in line to make the NHL.
Yep.
So
lots of good names in this list.
We're really thinking 2022-23 season. We're thinking next season here for the most part. Because I really don't think, unless something crazy happens at the trade deadline, I really don't think the Preds are going to tinker with their starting roster too much when it comes to calling up any prospects this season. They're in a really good spot right now where they feel really confident about their starting roster. And unless just a lot of injuries happen all at once or David Poile shocks us with a crazy trade that we don't see coming, really think their roster is pretty set right now, and they're probably not going to bring up any more prospects this year. The taxi squads are gone now, Rich.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, that part's gone again. So we don't
that
have
whole thing over.
We don't have to get numerous notifications on our phone about who's going to the taxi squad and who's going to here and who's going to there.
Any part of that anymore.
All right, let's start with number 5. We'll go 5-1 here. Number 5 on our list of prospects who are most ready to make the NHL jump. And we went with Luke Evangelista at number 5.
Yes.
He's a scoring machine, Rich. Scoring machine.
Almost 2 points a game. Lots of goals. He is dominating.
He's really the next Philip Tomasino, because this is how we were gushing over Philip Tomasino in the next way.
Yep.
He might even be a bigger scoring potential than Tomasino has.
Yep. He's getting ready to turn 20 this month. And the thing about it is, can he transfer what he's doing to the NHL game?
He's a little undersized. That's his big thing.
That was something else. I looked at that compared to Philip Tomasino, and he's a little bit smaller.
So being undersized in the OHL, you can get away with it a little bit more. But once you make that jump to the NHL eventually, even in the AHL, once we see Evangelista get into the AHL for Milwaukee, we're really going to get a good taste of what he's capable of.
Yeah.
Even that alone will be a big challenge for him, being undersized like he is. Let's see what kind of scoring pace he'll be able to keep up with once he gets there first. Yeah. But right now, currently with the London Knights of the OHL, the Ontario Hockey League, he's got 54 points, 26 goals. He's missed a little bit of time recently due to COVID protocols for his entire team. They've missed a few games.
Wow.
So, but yeah, you can't slow down this kid's pace. He's going to eventually be with the Admirals, and that's his next step. But I would not discount the fact that next season he could be called up.
Oh, absolutely, he could. Yeah, that would be the next logical
if the team
thing.
Needs him. Maybe the team won't need him next season. I think preferably you don't want to call him up next season, and you have a good enough team to where you don't need him. Like you said, Rich, he's still very young. He's about to turn what? You say he's about to turn 20 years old?
Oh, yeah, this month he'll be 20, yeah.
That's very young for an NHL player. I mean, Tomasino's going through the growing pains right now, but he's still managing just fine. It's very hard for that young of a player to just go right into the NHL. So I think a full season in Milwaukee will do him a lot of good, similar to Igor Afanasiev right now.
Yep.
But I do think that's why he's at number 5 on our list.
I agree. Yeah, and like you said about Tomasino, it is the exact same scenario, because Tomasino was dominating when he was playing, in the other league, and it doesn't necessarily transfer to the NHL. He's doing good. He's not probably doing as well as everyone thought he would, I guess, maybe. But yeah, Evangelista's it's the exact same thing. Dominating his league. Will it transfer to the NHL? That's the only question.
We've talked about this plenty of times, Rich, with Kyle and with some of our other guests in the past. the Preds have always had a hard time drafting elite scoring talent on the wing.
Yep.
They've done just fine developing defensemen. They've done just fine getting their goaltenders. They've just never been able to get the wingers. Me and Kyle Perkins in the last episode on Monday did some redrafts. Looked at, and one of the picks we went back and looked at was when the Preds drafted Kevin Fiala, and Kevin Fiala was one of those players that everyone thought was going to turn into this elite goal scorer. And the Preds ended up trading him for Mikael Granlund. And so, but for the most part, the Preds have never been able to go out and draft and hold on to elite scoring winger type players. So maybe a Luke Evangelista can break that curse when he eventually gets called up to the NHL. I think he's at least a full year away from getting that opportunity. The earliest I could see Evangelista being called up is in the middle of next season. And the only way I see that happening is if the Preds are struggling and they have to make some decisions. And I feel like he needs a full season in Milwaukee, preferably.
I think so. That'll be a real measuring stick if he can transfer what he's doing to the AHL. And if he can dominate like that in the AHL, man, that would be really good news for the Predators. So I agree, though. I think a year in the AHL will probably do him a lot of good. So that'd be the next step.
Yep. So he's number 5. So he's number 5 on our next in line list for our prospects. Next in line. All right. Number 4 is a player that some people thought, including our buddy Kyle Perkins, that he would get up to the NHL roster this year. And I think it's taken some time. We see this happen all the time. He is still dominating, though. Let's not get this mixed up here. It's not really because he's not playing well. It's just there's not room on the current NHL roster right now for him. And he does have a little bit of maturing to do in his game. But he's on the right track. That is Zachary Larue. He is currently playing in the QMJHL. It's really hard to say that fast. QMJHL.
Oh, and what's even harder is what the Q stands for.
Go ahead and tell us. Go ahead and tell us.
I don't know. I don't know how to say it.
Okay. Well, we'll stick with QMJHL.
That sounds good to me.
He's playing for the Halifax Mooseheads, one of my favorite team names ever.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But he's got 38 points in 23 games right now. And I'll tell you right now, though, the way Zachary Larue carries himself, the way he plays with that grit and grime and with that relentless attitude that he has, he will be a match made in heaven once he does come up to this Preds team. He fits the identity of this team perfectly. But, again, you got to show patience with a player like Zachary Larue.
Yep.
I do expect Zachary Larue on the Preds roster next season, though. I do. I think he's got a really good chance in training camp of next year to make the roster. He will be one of your top prospects who will be competing for a roster spot. Because let's look at it. Nick Cousins, I don't expect him back next year. So that opens up a spot for a Zachary Larue to fill in perfectly. Because I think he would play a lot like Nick Cousins.
Yeah, I agree.
He can fill that role very well. So if Nick Cousins doesn't come back to the Predators like I expect he doesn't, then there's an opening right there for Larue to move in, maybe even day one.
It's possible. Season. There's another person, though, that we're probably going to be talking about here soon who's probably going to be wanting that spot as well, though.
Exactly.
So it's going to be some.
Well, that's why Zachary Larue is at number 4.
Absolutely. I wrote a note. He's going to have to take somebody's spot or take that Nick Cousins spot if it becomes available. And he is playing really well, but there's a big difference in the league he's playing in the NHL. So it's just going to be if that's going to work out for him, you know what I mean? Like, especially if he jumps from there directly to the NHL without
that's
any
a big
of that
jump.
AHL experience, that's a huge jump. But
it's a big jump. But
we
feel like a player like him could actually do it.
I do too.
I do.
I do too. Just the way he plays that game and he plays the way the Predators are playing right now, I think he's a perfect fit. He's like you said.
if he hypothetically speaking is on the Preds roster next season, I don't think you would be expecting him to come in and just score a bunch of goals. You're looking for another fourth line blue guy that's going to set the tone, that's going to be another Tanner Jeannot in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Same type of player almost. And you just keep stocking your roster up with these young, hard-hitting players. Suddenly you've got your foundation for years to come of the type of team you're going to be. So I give him a really good chance here that he's going to be on the Preds roster next season at some point.
He just needs to keep that temper under
control
a little bit.
But we keep saying that about our current starting players.
That's true too. You're right.
And it doesn't seem, and then the team is still figuring out ways to win. So
you're right. You're right.
All right, let's go to number 3 on our next in line Preds prospects. And that is, for me, Igor Afanasiev, a player that, he's been next in line for a while, Rich.
Yeah. And he's who I was talking about, who's probably going to be wanting that Nick Cousins spot if it comes open. But
I got to tell you, Rich, he's not having as big of a year in Milwaukee as I would like to see him be having right now. He's not lighting it up by any means. Mm-hmm. He's definitely making an impact. I'm not saying he's invisible and he's not doing anything, but for me to feel highly confident that he's ready for the NHL, I need him to really keep improving. And, a lot of people wanted to see him start this year on the roster, and I'm glad he didn't. No offense to those fans who might be listening right now who were those fans who wanted him to start, but I was one of those people who were like, nope, I would rather see him go to Milwaukee. He hasn't played in Milwaukee yet. He needs time down there. And I think that looks like the right decision at this point because I just don't know what would have happened to his confidence and his development if you would have thrown him into the NHL for a bunch of games and he gets buried on the depth chart. He's only playing 9 or 10 minutes a game. And what would that do for his development track? Now he's down in Milwaukee and he's got 19 points in 42 games. So like I said, he's not tearing it up by any means. He's only got 7 goals, but he's got plenty of time because he's only 21 years old. And I think this is doing him a lot of good playing for Milwaukee right now.
Yeah. 5 of his goals were power play goals too.
Yeah.
So
Dauber prospects, they do their ratings on potential of each prospect, how good of a chance they have of making the NHL as a regular player. They still give him a 7.5 out of 10 for his NHL certainty rating. So they still feel really good about him on that very respected website, Dauber Prospects, which is one of the websites I use a lot to look up prospects.
Absolutely.
So I don't think there's any reason to be worried about him. That's why we got him at number 3. He's definitely one that's next in line, and he will be in training camp next season, expected to battle hard for a starting spot.
I agree.
Of course, it's really hard to predict right now because we have no idea what the roster is going to look like going into next season.
Not a clue.
But again, we can bring up Nick Cousins as the main player who's going to be moving out of this starting lineup next season.
Yeah.
And we still don't know what's going to happen with Philip Forsberg.
Yeah, a lot of ups and downs.
So there's a big roster spot right there that might be empty if they don't figure out a way to sign him. So we just don't really know what this roster is going to look like next season. But it seems like there's not going to be a lot of open spots. I do feel like they have their roster set for the short-term future. They feel like they know what they want and what they have.
Yeah. If that Forsberg spot's open, they're going to have to fill that with somebody.
Oh yeah, for sure. They can't. They can't just name. Exactly right. That'd be catastrophic. We've already talked about it plenty of times, so we're not going to beat the drum again tonight. We've talked about it. That's all people are talking about these days. So we are going to steer clear of that tonight.
Yep.
All right, number 2 on our next in line prospects for the Preds right now. I threw in Jeremy Davies.
Yep, that's a good.
And I mean, he's already gotten some NHL experience, but he hasn't been able to stick on the roster. And a big reason why I don't think it's really an indictment on Jeremy Davies. I think it's more or less just another example of it's really hard to make the NHL roster in Nashville as a defenseman. It's been that way for years and years and years. It's really hard.
Yeah. That's what
really,
one of my
really
notes,
hard as a defenseman.
That's one of my notes. Like, I'm not sure who he would replace. So if Matt Benning and Mark Borowiecki stick around next year,
I don't think they will, though, Rich.
You don't? I want them to, though.
One of them might stick around. I don't think they're both coming back.
Yeah. I don't know. It would be nice to have them both back.
I think for sure they've maybe even earned slight pay raises.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah, and I just don't think the Preds – I think the Preds are going to feel just fine with letting one of them go. We'll see which one they choose over the other. But my suspicion is that Matt Benning does not come back and they keep Mark Borowiecki. But then you've also got Philippe Myers, who is also under contract for another year, so he's going to be in the mix. But I do think Jeremy Davies is one player that you've got to look at as having a really good chance. And if you remember, Rich, we had On the Future on not too long ago, a few weeks ago, part of SB Nation, Eric Dene, and he brought up Jeremy Davies in this similar discussion talking about – I think we asked him this exact question.
Yeah, we did.
Of who's next in line, kind of. And Jeremy Davies was a player he mentioned. So
yeah, he was the person because we were like, "What about David Ferentz?" And he was like,
"Nope, Jeremy Davies."
Felt more confident that it would be Davies. So
and Jeremy, we already mentioned PK Subban tonight. Jeremy Davies came in on the PK Subban trade, if you remember correctly.
I do.
So coming out, he came out of the New Jersey Devils system. Davies was drafted all the way back in 2016.
Wow.
He's already 25 years old. So it's kind of now or never for Jeremy Davies. Like he's got to make that. He's complete opposite end of the spectrum from an Igor Afanasiev and from these other prospects we've mentioned so far on this list. Jeremy Davies, he's got to prove that he's ready to go and he's ready to do it. If he doesn't do enough to make the roster next season, then I'm really afraid that he's either going to have to get traded at some point or that he's just going to turn into a NHL journeyman AHL player for the rest of his career. But he's got to show it next year, and I think he's ready. I mean, he has offensive capabilities, which is what you love to see. So you got to think, would you trade off not re-signing Benning and maybe bringing up Jeremy Davies? Because suddenly you have some offensive pop to your third defensive pairing next season.
That is one thing you don't get from those other two guys together, but
that's the argument you got to make. That's the argument you got to make when it comes to Jeremy Davies next season.
Yeah, and it's just tough because Benning and Borowiecki play so well together. But if Benning is not here, I mean that's going to be a golden opportunity for Davies. So he'll have to just take it. You know, that's what those guys do. That's what Alexander Carrier did. He took his shot and got in. So,
and of course, Rich, it also has everything to do with Lucas Spiza and what he decides to do.
Yes.
Because I'm telling you right now, if Lucas Spiza decides to come out of my basement and stop managing my fantasy team and he decides he wants to play hockey again, he has every right to be on that third pairing for the Preds next season.
Yeah. I mean, why not?
Yeah. It's all a matter of what Lucas Spiza wants to do, though.
Yeah, that's true. He's holding all the cards.
He has all the power in his hands. Let's forget about Philip Forsberg here. The all-season storyline is going to be, what does Lucas Spiza do for the Predators next offseason?
Yeah, it's a mystery. I guess we'll find out.
We'll do a full episode special on where Lucas Spiza is going to sign if it comes to that. We'll do it here on Catfish and Ice.
Yeah.
He's
got other matters pressing right now, handling your fantasy hockey league,
he's doing pretty good. We're doing all right.
Not doing too bad.
Our number one next in line prospect is it was a very easy choice for me. This is like so obvious. I don't know how you can not bring up this guy.
I'm gonna say
next in line.
99% probably a done deal.
Connor Ingram is next in line, the top of our list of prospects who are next in line to be in the NHL full-time. I didn't even have to think for 2 seconds on this. Easy choice. No. He could be the backup right now if the Preds hadn't gone and signed David Rittich. That's nothing against David Rittich, but at the time, the Preds didn't feel totally comfortable going into the season with Connor Ingram as the full-time backup because Connor Ingram had never played an NHL game, and Connor Ingram had only had one full season of work with Milwaukee. And so that was a really big gamble at the time to go into the season without a veteran NHL backup to Yossi Saros. So the Preds did their due diligence, played it safe, and got David Rittich. And what do you know? They're not really using him much anyway. But be that as it may, David Rittich's only on a 1-year deal. He's probably most certainly not going to come back next season.
I wouldn't
pretty much bank on that. And so Connor Ingram is going to be easily slotted in as your backup to Yossi Saros next season. And Connor Ingram is making us all feel really good about that happening. He's
killing
on fire
it right now.
He is on fire.
Absolutely, he is. So
got
the whole team's on fire actually
they
right
are,
now.
Yeah,
they're after a slow
cruising
start.
Up the standings. Yep, they are.
Whew. I'm sure you got it written down.
Connor Ingram's got 3 shutouts in his last 4 games. He has made 92 of 93 saves. That's what the stretch he's on right now. And I know that the AHL and the NHL are completely different sets of competition, but the AHL is no slouch league.
No.
Making 92 of 93 saves in that league when you're making saves against some of the top prospects in the that are going to the NHL, and you're making saves against plenty of former NHL players. That is an incredible stretch. We know what Connor Ingram did when he did make his NHL debut for the Preds, and he played incredibly in his first NHL start. And he was the AHL Player of the Week this past week. So congrats to Connor Ingram.
Did you see the other stat? He hasn't let a puck in 179 minutes and 39 seconds.
I did not see that, Rich. I did not.
Yeah, that's strong. That's massive. Yeah, that's a good thing. And that right there and the way they're playing right now, like I said, 99% sure it's probably going to happen. And it should. So him and Saros next year, I like it.
And you got to think that next season maybe Saros won't have to be as much of the workhorse. We'll see. But so once again, the Preds are setting themselves up for elite goaltending for years to come.
And I like it. Nothing against David Rittich.
And let's just talk about honorable mention prospects that we didn't include. These are more prospects that one of the reasons why they're not on our list is because I just feel like they're a little bit ways away. And they're also playing overseas, which complicates things as well. I originally had Juuso Parssinen in my top 5, but I switched him out for Zachary Larue. I do think Juuso Parssinen is very, very close to also getting an NHL call-up next season. Juuso Parssinen, according to On the Future, will possibly finish the season with Milwaukee this year when his overseas Finnish league finishes out.
That's cool.
That league will finish before the AHL season finishes, apparently. And so Juuso Parssinen might make his Milwaukee Admirals debut before the end of this season. So that'll be really fun to watch and interesting to see.
He's got 22 points in 26 games with the team he plays for. And I made a note about how excited everyone was for the rookie camp because it was the first time that he played over here. He'd never been to any kind of development camp or anything over here, and it was really cool to see him get over here. So if he could go play, get some AHL time this season, that would be awesome to see for his, especially.
And what makes you really excited and pumped up about a player like Parssinen is he has the ability to develop into a very good NHL centerman one day.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you loved it. He's a big body. He's not a tiny player at all. And also from On the Future, that On the Future wrote a really good prospect report not too long ago. And really encourage everyone to go read it. He was saying that Eric was saying that a lot of your Finnish commentators over there that cover TPS, which is the team that Parssinen plays for, they're calling Juuso Parssinen the best player in that league.
That's good. That's good for the Predators.
And I'm telling you, Finland is not a slouch when it comes to hockey at all. They have plenty of good prospects in there, and I'm telling you that league is not short of talent. So the fact that he's being called by some commentators over there the best player in that league, that's pretty impressive. So Parssinen's right there. You can make an argument that he should be in our top 5 list. He's right there. He's an honorable mention. Of course, Fyodor Svechkov, who was the number 1 pick this past year, he's playing overseas right now. It's going to take some time before he's going to be ready for the NHL. So that's why he's not on our list. He's not going to be on our list. Yaroslav Askarov, same idea. He's going to have to play a full season in Milwaukee before he finishes out his current contract in the KHL. And boy, I can tell you right now, I cannot wait for him to get out of the KHL because he doesn't get to play that much. And when he does play, he has horrendous defense in front of him. He's not getting the full development he deserves right now, and I hate it for him.
Did you see that meme that Kyle Perkins put out? It said something about the defense that plays with Askarov, and he took all the defensemen were Ben Harper. He put all Ben Harper faces on all the defensemen or whatever, and that's true. And we talked about it with
Ben Harper. Hold on, timeouts. Ben Harper is going to find Kyle Perkins in an alley one day, and I'm not going to be there to have his back.
That's what I said. I don't think all 3 of us could beat up Ben Harper.
I'm going to be hiding in the corner somewhere if that happens.
Yeah, that dude's a massive dude. But Eric talked about that too, though. We asked him about that, like, is that hurting Askarov? And he said, yeah, absolutely, because he's not getting his starts, and then when he does, the team is just ridiculous, apparently. So they don't care about his development as a Nashville Predator, that's for sure. So
and then another overseas player, another Russian prospect, Simeon Chishikov, we've seen him play in the World Juniors. He's another player, another prospect that you should definitely be excited about if you're Preds fans, but it's going to take a lot of time before he's going to be fully ready to come over here. He's 20 years old at this moment. He was drafted 4th round in 2019. As a defenseman, we know that this organization is great at developing defensemen, of course. And let's see what Chishikov's doing this year. He is playing in the KHL and not putting up great numbers, only 2 points in 33 games. But again, the KHL is tough.
Though. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Those dudes are real deal. Definitely.
And he's a little bit of an undersized defenseman as well. He's only 5'11".
Yeah.
So, he's like literally 2 inches taller than me, and I could not imagine being a defenseman at my size. I would die. Like I don't even think I'd make it. I don't even think I'd make it through the first period. So in one piece. So
you got somebody like Matthias Ekholm barreling down on you. Yeah, that'd be a little scary.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Nope.
All right, so that's our top 5 prospects right now who are next in line for the Predators. We hope you enjoyed it. Tweet the show at Catfish Ice on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Comment on YouTube right now. Let us know what you think about our list, how you would change your list.
Book it.
Yeah, but I think we're all in agreement that it's Connor Ingram's number 1 on that list. You would have a hard time changing my opinion on that one. Absolutely. But you can try if you want to. If you disagree, you can try. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yep.
All right, we're presented by DraftKings, and the DraftKings is, of course, the official sports betting partner of the NFL, and the time is here. We've been waiting since September, Rich, for this moment to come, and that is Super Bowl 56 is here. you've got a couple teams that no one expected, right? You got the Cincinnati Bengals, who are right down the road from you, Rich.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Like I said in not last or the one before that, my brother-in-law's favorite team. He loves the Cincinnati Bengals for some reason.
I bet he's going crazy right now.
I haven't talked to him, but I promise you he is going crazy.
Are you so – you're just south of Louisville, right, Rich?
I'm just south of Louisville. Cincinnati's about 2 hours north.
Are you seeing any Bengals fever where you're at? Are you seeing – or is it just not really like that where you're at?
It's not. It's all about UK and U of L basketball where I'm at. So
and it's basketball season right now. So
and it's basketball season. So that's the thing.
Your UK Wildcats beat my Vanderbilt Commodores last night, but
that's what I heard.
The good old Zebras had a part in that as well, and I would not change my opinion on that. It's hard to win in Rupp Arena when you got the refs and you got UK both.
That is definitely a thing. That's for sure.
But I'll go ahead and leave that to the side because no one wants to hear me go on my Vanderbilt basketball rant. No one's here for that. So
got a little bit of some of that Calipari magic with the referees.
Don't even get me started with him. Cannot stand that man. He's the biggest grown toddler I've ever seen coaching on the sideline.
Yeah, he is. He can be a toddler, that's for sure.
All right. But anyway, let's switch gears back to DraftKings here. Oh, sorry I went on that mini rant.
Right. We've both done it.
But DraftKings is giving 56-1 odds to new customers right now for the Super Bowl. Bet just $5 and get $280 in free bets if your team wins. You want to take the Bengals, take Joe Burrow, or do you want to take the St. Louis Rams? Or do you want to take the Los Angeles Rams and Matt Stafford? If you're asking me, if I was going to bet right now, I'm taking the Rams. I think they got the more complete team. But the Bengals, don't ever count out Joe Burrow because he is a stud under the bright lights. But I would take the Rams. But either way, the choice is yours.
Yeah.
56-1 odds.
I don't keep up with the NFL much, but I would probably have to go with the Rams as well.
They got the more complete team, Rich. They got the defense. They got a great defense. Yeah. Matt Stafford.
Track record.
And Matt Stafford has been waiting for this moment. All those years he played for the deplorable Detroit Lions. Mm-hmm. His career was just wasting away. And then finally he got rescued out of there. And in hockey terms, think about a really great player that plays for a bad team right now in hockey. Can we think of a player? Jack Eichel.
Jack Eichel.
Jack Eichel is on Vegas now. So if Vegas wins the Cup this year, and Jack Eichel is a big reason why, let's say he's the Stanley Cup MVP of that series, that's kind of what's happening with Matt Stafford for the Rams right now. That's a good equivalent. So, for any new customers listening tonight, use our promo code THPN right now. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use promo code THPN. Get 56-1 odds on either team. Bet just $5 and get $280 in free bets if your team wins. That's promo code THPN at the DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 56. 21 years or older. Minimum age and location requirements vary by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for a full list of requirements and state-specific responsible gambling resources and gaming resources. Void where prohibited. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER in New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania, or 1-800-9-WITH-IT as well is another number you can call. And, of course, if the DraftKings Sportsbook is also available and live in New York, meaning you can bet from almost a third of the country now. So a lot of options out there for people. If it's still not available in your state yet, then do the daily fantasy contest for Super Bowl 56, which are also a lot of fun. Plenty to do at the DraftKings Sportsbook app with our promo code THPN.
My state needs to get with it because mine is one of the ones where you cannot.
You can still play the daily fantasy though, and it's a lot of fun.
I was sorely disappointed because I actually was going to bet, and I was going to bet when the Predators played Arizona, who would score the first goal. Logged on and not on there. So Kentucky, get with it. DraftKings.
Come on, Kentucky, get with it.
Yeah, you gamble on everything else. You gamble on horses.
That's kind of shocking. I would have never guessed that. That's odd. That's weird.
Especially with this whole
when it comes to, I mean, all you gotta do is talk about you're talking about betting horses. You're talking about what's the casino that everyone goes to that's near the Tennessee border?
Oh yeah, I can't. Yeah, I'm not sure.
There's billboards all over the place for it. I can't remember what it's called now.
There's off track horse race betting. That's probably
I don't know.
But anyway, DraftKings. I want Kentucky.
We want DraftKings in Kentucky. Get with it.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's move on to the next segment here of Catfish on Ice, episode 102 with Chad Minton and Rich Howe, your host. And let's start looking at some of the best playoff matchups that could potentially happen now that we're getting closer and closer. Of course, we know that the Preds still have work to do, that there's by no means do they have a playoff spot locked up. But we can at least start looking at some potential matchups that we would like to see that would favor the Predators, maybe that would be a favorable matchup for them to maybe get out of the first round. And Rich, first and foremost, the criteria to get out of the first round for me is, please, for the love of everything in me, avoid the wild card. Because if you finish in that wild card spot, you're either going to play the Colorado Avalanche, most likely. I mean, that's who you're going to play, because unless the Colorado Avalanche don't win the division,
I don't see that. Yeah.
It's going to be either them, or you might have to play the Pacific Division winner, which would probably be Vegas. But the Pacific Division is a lot more tight right now because Vegas has 57 points and LA and Anaheim only have 55 points, only 2 points behind. And Calgary is only 5 points behind. And Edmonton is only 8 points behind.
Yes, which
so the Pacific Division is very close. You've got 5 teams all within 8 points of each other. So the Pacific Division is very close. But if you ask me, it's going to come down to either Vegas. I could see Edmonton making a strong push to get that top spot. But my money's on Vegas to probably finish out and win that division. Do we really want to play Vegas in the first round? I got to say I do not.
I don't want any part of them or Colorado.
So let's just avoid the wild card position first and foremost, Rich.
Yep. So, so I put it seems like it would be Minnesota to me.
That's your most favorable playoff.
Well, that's not my most favorable, but I think
most likely.
It seems like that's how it's going to play out. My favorable thing, and this would take a little bit of.
And don't say Arizona. Don't you say Arizona?
I'm not going to say Arizona. I'm going to say
realistic.
I'm going to say I would like to see them play Dallas. I would like to see Dallas.
That's possible. That is possible.
They'd have to make a push, and it would be a pretty strong push for Dallas. But I would really like them to have a matchup with them and get a little revenge on them.
Get a little revenge and I think that's a very favorable matchup for the way the Preds play.
Yep, I agree.
Because
100%.
The Stars don't bring a lot of offensive firepower to the game. No. They are a very rough it up type of team as well. They've got a really young goaltender, Jake Ottinger, who is a good goaltender. I'm not giving him, but I do think that you could maybe score some goals on him in a playoff atmosphere. So that would take the Stars getting up to the top 3 to face them in the first round.
Yeah, that might be,
which is doable, but
it's doable. But it's going to.
I would take that as a favorable matchup too. But I'm going to go ahead and say, assuming the Predators stay in the top 3, which I'm predicting they will, they'll figure out a way to stay in this top 3. I feel good about it. If they do that, then I think that Minnesota, you already mentioned them, is actually a pretty favorable matchup.
Yeah.
Because I just feel like Minnesota has got some firepower. They've got some players that could scare you, but I don't know how ready they are to be a dangerous playoff team, much like I don't know if the Predators are ready either. But I do think I give the Predators a way better chance in the first round of beating the Wild than I do the St. Louis Blues.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's true.
I could see the Predators beating the Wild in 7 games, or maybe even 6 games, possibly. I don't know if the Predators could beat the St. Louis Blues in a 7-game series. I would not feel very confident in that.
Yeah.
The Blues are a very veteran, strong team. And Jordan Bennington, as much as we can't stand him, he's proven in the playoffs before that he is a really good clutch goaltender. So I just feel like that'd be a tough series for the Preds. I'd much rather play the Wild in that situation.
Yeah. Now, if they can do what they did against Carolina with this team this season, I would like their chances a little better against the Blues if they can replicate how well they were playing in that series. But I just have a feeling it's going to shake out and wind up being Minnesota. So
it's a good prediction. That's who they would play right now, like you said, if the playoffs ended today. But again, very, very clustered up between 2nd and 4th place. The Blues are at 57 points. The Wild are at 59. It's very likely that the Wild are going to pass the Predators up sooner or later because they've still got 5 games in hand and they're only 1 point behind. So you could see that being a home ice advantage in favor of the Wild if that happens.
Yeah. All the teams, the top 4 have games in hand against Nashville. So I think you're right. I think Minnesota probably could jump.
And let's look at this. If the Preds did fall back to the wild card, which would be horrible, then, I mean, would you rather play Vegas or would you rather play Colorado? I mean, I guess we'll say Vegas at that point.
I would say I have to say Vegas at that point.
But you could also get lucky. Let's say you get lucky there and somehow LA or Anaheim wins the division and you fall in the wild card. Would you feel better about beating LA or Anaheim even if you are a wild card team?
Yeah. I would take just about anybody besides Colorado at this point. Yeah, right. They're a juggernaut, man. I mean, they're just huge. I mean, I don't even know.
I mean, what a run. But what a run Anaheim and LA are going on. I mean, they are right up there with they're right up there with the Preds when it comes to surprise teams of the NHL.
I would have never thought that of either one of those teams.
Well, going into the season, I felt like LA was going to take a big step forward. A lot of people were saying that LA had one of the best prospect pools. They were going to push. Of course, let's give some love to our buddy Victor Arvidsson, who is really an important part of that team. That is turning out to be a really good addition for them, and Arvidsson is flourishing for the Kings. So how weird would that be if the Preds and Kings played and we had to go up against Victor Arvidsson in the first round? That would be rough.
That would be rough, but yeah, I'll take that roughness over having to play Colorado. That's for sure.
Let's talk about some other potentially really entertaining first-round playoff matchups that could happen for the NHL. If Colorado ends up winning the division, I would love if Edmonton has to take a wild card spot and it's Colorado-Edmonton in the first round. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl going up against the Colorado Avalanche juggernaut. That would be a heck of a first-round series, would it not, Rich?
It will, and I will.
And it's very possible. That's very possible to happen.
Yeah, it could definitely happen. That's for sure.
I've also got Calgary, Edmonton as a strong possibility. Battle of Alberta in the first round. That could happen.
It could. Another good one. Yeah, that would be good as well. I'm just
right now. Calgary's in the wild card spot. They're 3 points ahead of Edmonton for the wild card spot. So that would take one of them one of those two teams getting into the top 3.
Yes.
It would really take both of them getting into the top 3 to play against each other. So a little more far-fetched for them two to end up playing each other in the first round. But Battle of Alberta.
That would be good. But that Colorado Edmonton, that would be really fun to watch. That's for sure.
Another one I wrote down here, Rich, was I feel like it's possible, is a Vegas division winner playing a wild card St. Louis Blues team. That'd be a good one. I would like that.
Yeah, who do you root for in that? Don't like either one of those.
No, I'd go for Vegas. I'd go for Vegas, yeah.
I probably would as well.
You know me. St. Louis and Chicago are 1A and 1B for me, and teams I hate. So
you're right. Hey, it's Lindsay. Hello, Lindsay.
Hey, Lindsay. Lindsay, we're stealing your topic you brought up in episode 100, a listener appreciation episode, and we're talking about some of the best first-round playoff matchups that we could see.
Yep.
We stole your topic, Lindsay.
Yep.
We stole your topic here.
We'll have to send you a chat.
We just talked about a potential battle for Alberta first-round playoff matchup if it was Calgary versus Edmonton, and how crazy that would be, how entertaining that would be for everybody if that happened.
Yep. Lindsay is a documented Edmonton hater. So
it's in her blood. I mean, she's a Flames fan.
That's how it is. Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, let's go to the Eastern Conference. I got a good one here that would be good.
Oh, man.
Tampa Bay versus Toronto in the first round. Give me some of that, please.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, that would be amazing.
That's kind of a win-win situation for us, because if Tampa loses, well, it's like, okay, the Dragon is finally slayed. The two-time champs are knocked out. But if Toronto loses, we can keep writing all the jokes about how Toronto loses in the playoffs.
Those poor guys.
So that would be a win-win situation for me if those two teams played.
I hate to say it, I'm going to be pulling for anybody going against Tampa.
I know.
Want to see them win again. It's not just because I don't like them. I just don't want to see them win again.
They're turning into the Patriots of the NHL. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't like that.
And then I've got one more, Rich, and then you can give me some of yours if you have some that I haven't said yet. Another great rivalry, another division rivalry. Washington Capitals versus Pittsburgh Penguins is always a good playoff showdown.
That would be a good one too.
That could happen.
Yep. Washington's in the wild card spot right now.
So those are my those are my top 5 NHL potential playoff matchups, not including the Predators. Do you have any written down that you?
No, not really. But no, those ones you said, those are all great. I mean, those are really good. With a couple of really good matchups that I would love to see. That's for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. The main one would be that Colorado Edmonton. That would be amazing to watch.
It could happen.
It could happen. Possible. Yeah, it's definitely possible.
If Edmonton ends up barely sneaking into the wild card, like just by the skin of their teeth, they will be faced off with Colorado more than likely. So give me that.
Lindsay says Leafs need to not go to 7 games in a series. Yeah. Those dudes, man, they're cursed. I don't know. That's crazy.
Let's get into our next segment here. This is Catfish on Ice, episode 102 with Chad Minton and Rich Howe, presented by DraftKings. We just had some prospect talk. We just talked about some potential playoff matchups. We talked about the NHL All-Star Weekend as we have getting started with that tomorrow night with the skills competition. What else do we got here, Rich? We got to talk about our battle for the Central Power Rankings. Perfect timing. And how about the Arizona Coyotes? They knocked off the Colorado Avalanche.
Wow.
They finally broke their home winning streak.
Unbelievable.
I'm telling you, Rich, I've been telling you this for a couple power rankings now. The Coyotes are getting better. They're not a doormat. They are not a doormat.
No, they're not the worst team in the league either. So.
They just dug themselves such a deep hole that they're probably not going to be able to get out of it. Yep. But I want to move them up to 7 so bad just to shake up the rankings, but I can't do it because it's still just such a big gap.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm going to do it.
Are you really?
Because guess what power rankings it should also be? It should be looking at organizations and how these organizations are just horribly ran at this point.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but the Blackhawks, I don't have any more patience with them. You're seeing the news. Did you see the news come out, Rich, about
I did. It's all
the big rant of how he doesn't want to answer questions anymore about it's like, I'm sorry, but you've got to answer questions about this because it was a horrible scandal and it was a horrible thing that happened, and you were the one in charge, and you can't lose your cool like that. It's yet another bad look for the organization, the Blackhawks organization. And I'm sorry, I just don't think they're a very good team either. and you throw in this with it, at least the Coyotes are trying. At least they stated that they're going to rebuild and tear this whole thing down, and they're still competing. And
That's a good point.
What I really appreciate about the Coyotes is they are clearly not tanking.
No. I don't think any of them ever tank personally.
The front office made a decision that we need to rip this thing down and we need to start from scratch. And I appreciate the hell out of all those players on that team that are still fighting. They're still playing hard. And look at them. They go out and they beat a team like the Colorado Avalanche. Yep. We need more of that in sports where we don't worry about teams tanking. There's a tanking allegation going on right now in the NFL by the coach that got fired by the Dolphins. He's alleging that his owner offered him $100,000 to lose games on purpose.
Ugly. That's ugly.
And we're not going to dive into that because we'll be here all night. We're not an NFL podcast, but it's the reason why I bring that up is it is really refreshing to see a team like the Coyotes, even though everyone knows they're not going anywhere and they're not a very good team and they're not built to win right now. Those players are still leaving it all on the ice. And so I'm making a change this week. Blackhawks are number 8. Coyotes are number 7.
I can't do it, but I agree with everything you just said. And the point about what you just said about Arizona in the rebuild, this is expected. They did a full scorched earth rebuild. Like, they knew they were not going to be good. Chicago, on the other hand, have got Patrick Kane, Alex DeBrincat. They paid all that money for Seth Jones. They've got Marc-Andre Fleury.
And they've got Jonathan Taves.
They got Jonathan Taves. On paper, they should be way. I don't know about awesome. I don't know about awesome. They should be a lot better. I know that nobody.
There's no excuses.
Yeah, no excuse. Yeah, definitely no excuses for how they're playing.
I mean, they've got Dylan Strome. I mean, Dylan Strome is no slouch. I mean, Kirby Doc.
Yeah.
I mean, they should not be this bad. It's really, really embarrassing how bad this team is. And so
I wrote a couple of notes. They got blanked by the Wild. Like, the Wild just mauled them. They're on a 3-game losing streak, and I wrote free Marc-Andre Fleury.
Yes, please free Marc-Andre.
I saw your tweet about don't let him end his career at that.
He's listed as one of the top goaltenders who could be traded this year. And I would love to see him get traded to a team that needs him, that can help into his, because I put Marc-Andre Fleury in that same category as Pecorine of just classy goaltenders that I want everything good to happen for these goaltenders that just carry themselves with so much class. And it really hurt me as a rival fan when Fleury got traded to the Blackhawks. But now I just hate it so much more with all this other stuff that's come out about the Blackhawks organization. Yeah. I hate that Fleury has to be associated with that organization right now. I just hate it for him.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah, stinks.
But I know they're 13 points separated in the standings. But when we do our power rankings, it's not always about standings for me, because I do think that eventually the Coyotes and the Blackhawks are going to get a lot closer to each other in points. I really do. I think one team's trending backwards, the other team's trending forward. I mean, right now it's splitting hairs because they're both way far back in the division. They're not going anywhere. But I got to give the Coyotes some kudos and move them up a spot this week because they beat Colorado. And they've actually been playing much better overall in their last few games. I mean, if we look back at their recent schedule, they beat Colorado. They did lose 4-2 to Calgary in their last game. They were on a pretty long losing streak before they beat Colorado, I guess. But they're battling. Like, I mean, they only lost 2-1 to Boston. It's just they clearly don't have the roster, but
no,
I'm putting them at number 7. I'm sorry. I'm doing it.
Hey, man, you knocked off the number 1 team in the league. That's some improvement. That's what the power rankings are every week. Teams that make improvement. There you go. Awesome.
Number 6. I'm going to keep the Winnipeg Jets there at number 6.
Me too. They've only won one game in their last 8, and they just keep getting hammered by teams. So not looking good, especially for how well they started off in the season. Like they were like number 1 for a long time in the division, and it's just gotten worse.
Well, very similar to Chicago. They should not be struggling this bad. They have players. Right. They have talent. They have plenty of. I mean, they're not a. They don't have the excuse that the Arizona Coyotes have.
Yeah,
like the Winnipeg Jets were expected to compete this year and be. I figured they'd be a top 3 team in the division most likely, and they're just not doing it. Connor Hellebuck's not having that great of a year up to his standards. And so, I mean, keep them at number 6. They could, of course, make a push. They're not so far back. They couldn't eventually figure out a way into the wild card or even top 3, but they are 16 points out of the top 3 right now. So you can pretty much – that's pretty far-fetched that they're going to make it to the top 3. They are purely a wild card team at this point. That's their best chance is a wild card.
They've got 4 games in hand against like Nashville, but I think that's just too much. Too big of a differential.
Yeah. So they're one of your teams you can throw into the biggest disappointment pile this year if you're looking at teams that are big disappointments. Number 5 is going to be the Dallas Stars for both of us, I believe.
Yep. Yeah. I wrote some notes, up and down play. They had a really good streak going, and then they got nailed by the Capitals. The Capitals ruined their night. They were I actually watched the beginning of the game. They retired a jersey. It was a Zubov. I can't remember.
He was a good player for them. He was a good player for them back in the day.
They had this big, huge, massive ceremony. It was really cool to watch. I watched it. It was really neat. And then Washington just steamrolled them. So,
but then they turn around. But then they turn around and beat the Bruins 6-1.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
and then they turn around and lose to Calgary 4-3. In that game, they should have won that game. They were leading most of that game. They were up. They were up 3-1. They were up 3-1 in that game in the second period, and they just let the Calgary Flames storm right back. So the Stars are just, you can't trust the Stars at all. They are. I mean, they could end up getting a wild card spot. They're probably going to battle with the Winnipeg Jets maybe for that wild card spot. And what you already brought it up, Rich. We would love to face the Dallas Stars in the first round, but for that to happen, the Stars would have to make a huge push. So it's probably unlikely that the Preds are going to play the Stars in the first round. But I would love to get some revenge on them because 2019 is still a bad taste in my mouth.
Yep, that was the season that I started watching hardcore, and it was ugly. Very ugly.
Number 4 in my power rankings, I've got the Minnesota Wild.
Oh wow, that's funny.
Yeah,
I put St. Louis.
I feel like Minnesota is a little top heavy. They are a team that goes on these hot streaks, and I'm not saying they're a bad team. Of course, number 4 is not bad in the Central Division because you're right there, clustered up with everybody else. But they've got a lot of good star power, but I don't trust their goaltending as much, even though Cam Talbot's having a decent year for them. I don't trust their defense a ton either. And I just don't know if they're ready for the big moments. They might be a season away from being a Stanley Cup contending team. So I feel really confident leaving them at number 4 when it's all said and done. And then, Rich, I think you said that's a very highly potential first-round playoff matchup for the Preds if everything holds together.
Yeah. I put St. Louis at number 4. I just looked at their schedule for the last week, and it's just been up and down. They're another one. It's hard to read them. Like, you can't trust them, like you said about Dallas. You just don't know. So that's why I stuck them there.
Yeah, St. Louis lost to Winnipeg 4-1 in their last game. They haven't played since January 29th, so they're going to get a really long break during this All-Star break. But before that, they beat Calgary 5-1, and that takes us back to our last power rankings. So they've only played one game since our last edition of the power rankings last week. So not really a lot to go off of. So that's why I just left him at number 3. Even though they did that Winnipeg loss is pretty ugly though for them.
Yeah, that is. Definitely
but like you said, it's another team that's just hard to figure out.
Yep, they are. They could. Yeah, I don't know.
And that makes our top 2 pretty simple. These power rankings are getting a little bit easier to do every week as we get further into the season. I don't know if you're noticing that.
A little bit, yeah.
But the Preds are definitely number 2, and the Avalanche are still number 1. I mean,
yep. I put Minnesota at 3 and Nashville at 2. Yeah, so Minnesota, they actually have a winning streak going, but a lot of the wins are against teams that they definitely should have beat anyway. They're 1 point out of second, like we talked about. But then the Predators, man, they just I know they lost against Edmonton or whatever, but I really feel that could have went their way, the way they were playing. I hate the shootout so much. I wish they'd get rid of it. It's just not fair. I don't think it's not indicative of who should have won the game.
Yeah.
But the Predators, they hung with them, and that's saying a lot.
Well, I really wish we had more head-to-head matchups to go off of between the Preds and the Wild, but they've only played each other once all season.
Yeah.
And they don't play the Wild again until March 13th. They play Minnesota, and then they play Minnesota twice in April.
Oh, wow.
At home. So they still got 3 more meetings with Minnesota this season. So that's going to tell us a lot. It's really hard, but the Preds beat the Wild 5-2 very early in the season.
Yeah.
That's all we have to go off of. Head to head.
Crazy that like April is going to be when they're going to be making pushes to get their spots.
Well, and also if you look at the home schedule for April, the Preds have a ton of home games in April, which hopefully will be a big difference maker. They've got 9 home games in April.
Wow.
6 road games.
Wow.
They play Calgary twice. They play Minnesota twice. They play Edmonton. They play St. Louis. They play Florida at home. So that's going to be a really good home schedule in April.
Yeah. And then Colorado, the only thing I wrote was the juggernaut rolls on. Those dudes, I know they lost against Arizona, but I don't see anybody beating them.
They've got a 77-point percentage right now. 77% of their games this season, they've gotten a point. That's what their point percentage is. They've gotten 77% of possible points this season.
That's insane. I mean, it's just crazy. If they don't at least make it to the Stanley Cup, it's going to be.
I mean, they're right there with Florida, though. Florida in the East has 69 points, and Colorado has 68 points.
Right, yeah.
But Colorado has the much better point percentage. But
yeah.
Pretty impressive for sure.
It's crazy.
That's our battle for the Central Power Rankings. Let's go ahead and put a bow on episode 102 tonight with a little Winter Olympics talk.
Yeah.
And the women already opened the tournament with their first game, and bright and early this morning out in Beijing, they beat Team Finland 5-2. Team USA is defending their gold medal that they won in 2018 in South Korea. And I got to say, I wish I would have woke up and watched this game, but I missed it, and I'm a little upset about it. But I did go back and watch the highlights.
Yep.
And I can't get enough of the women's hockey team. They are fun to watch. They are loaded with superstars. And a lot of these key players on their team are multi-Olympic athletes.
Yep.
So a very veteran-led team for Team USA for the women's team. Their assistant captain, Brianna Decker, took a really bad leg injury, unfortunately, in this game. It was all over Twitter. It really sucked to see. She has had 3 Olympic appearances. Listen to this. So her team rallied around her, of course, and they ended up winning the game. Team USA outshot Finland 52-12.
I saw that. I couldn't believe that. I watched the replay game. They showed it like at 7 o'clock or something. Yeah, I saw her take that spill. That was ugly. They said she's out for the Olympic. Like she's not coming back for the Olympics at all.
Yeah, no, that was a really bad injury.
Yeah, that was a bummer.
Very unfortunate.
But that 52-12 number was massive. Yeah, they look good. That's for sure. It was good to see them playing. They said one of the players, I can't remember who it was, this is her 4th straight Olympics. She's participated in the last 4 Olympics, that's awesome. That's really cool.
Yep. You just hate seeing that. That was rough.
Yeah, it was ugly.
And then, so it's going to come down to Team USA and Team Canada again, most likely in the women's tournament. And sign me up for that. You want to talk about a rivalry?
Oh yeah, they don't like each other.
You're two dynasties when it comes to women's international hockey.
Mm-hmm.
So sign me up for that. Team Canada is going to want some revenge after losing to Team USA in the last Olympics in the shootout.
Absolutely. Yep.
And then when it comes to the men's team, it's a lot different for the men's side. They are not using their best players from the United States of America due to the NHL not allowing their players to participate in the Olympics. And so we're going to see a lot of amateurs for Team USA. A lot of college players and a few NHL journeyman players. Yeah. But it's going to be a lot different. I do think that Team USA still has a chance to at least win a medal. It's not that they don't have any talent, but I'll be shocked if Team USA can beat teams like Canada or beat teams like Russia. I think Russia is going to really benefit from this NHL not being in the Olympics because Team Russia is still going to have a lot of players, international players, who are going to be really tough for a team like USA to handle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm looking at the roster. I don't recognize hardly any
of these people. They're big players. Maddie Beniers, who is the University of Michigan standout, was taken 2nd overall in the past draft by the Seattle Kraken. All eyes are going to be on how he can play, but you're talking about a 19-year-old being thrown on this stage. But the talent's there. He is a very electrifying, fun player to watch. So a lot of eyes will be on him. Here's what I'm worried about with Team USA. They don't have much in terms of goaltending. They have no proven good players. It's all young prospects or college players that's going to be a net for them. So that's going to be – I feel like Team USA is going to get lit up by the really good teams.
Yeah, it's looking like it.
That's what scares me.
Sure. That's for sure. Yeah, it's looking like it. But
some other players that should be on your radar. Jake Sanderson is another young collegiate player who is going to do some good things in the NHL one day. Jake Sanderson is a defenseman. He was drafted number 5 overall by the Ottawa Senators in 2020. He's currently playing at the University of North Dakota, which is another great college program, powerhouse in college hockey.
Rocco Grimaldi's alma mater.
So Jake Sanderson, he figures, is going to be a good leader for this team. You've got some NHL players here that I noticed. Nick Shore is a center, journeyman NHL player who was drafted all the way back in 2011. He's played for 4 different teams, and he currently plays in the KHL now. So you look at Nick Shore. But there's only one returning player from the 2018 Olympics, and that is Brian O'Neill, who I don't know much about. But that just goes to show you that these are all new players being thrown into this Team USA roster for the men's side. So it might be kind of tough for the Team USA to get a medal.
I think so. Lindsay says go Canada. Yeah, that's probably a good bet.
So I think you can fairly put your money on both the women's and the men's teams getting a gold medal for Team Canada. But the USA women will have something to say about that.
Absolutely.
That's going to be if Team Canada and Team USA and the women's side end up facing off for the gold medal. Please sign me up for that. Give me that, please.
We were actually watching curling was on before we came on to do the podcast. I don't know what it is, man, but I could sit and watch curling all day. It's really, I know a lot. It's just, it's crazy. I don't know. I like it, but I'm really looking forward to when the snowboarding and all that happens, because that's like my favorite winter sport stuff, the snowboarding. So looking forward to seeing that. And
the thing about the curling, the thing about the curling is it's kind of like relaxing. It's like therapeutic for me.
Absolutely. Those dudes, the guys and girls, they just like barely even touch it. They just let it go, and it just does its thing. It's amazing. I think Lindsay actually does curling. So,
but the suspense, there's a lot of suspense involved in curling, like because you're watching this little plate or disc or whatever you call it, just like slowly going down this ice, and they're shooting the ice, and there's a lot of suspense. I like it too. I find curling to be very interesting.
I don't understand it, but I do like watching it. So it's very relaxing is a good way to put it. It's cool,
all right, everyone. We really appreciate you listening to episode 102 of Catfish on Ice with Chad Minton and Rich Howe, presented by DraftKings. Thanks to our listeners for commenting on the live stream tonight on YouTube.
Lindsay,
go hit that hit that subscribe button on YouTube if you're checking out our channel. Hit the follow button if you're checking us out on Twitter at Catfish Ice. We appreciate it. Always connect with us on social media. We'll respond back. Love talking hockey and Preds hockey with all of our followers and listeners. It really makes everything so much more fun when watching this beautiful sport of hockey. We hope everyone has a great weekend, enjoys the NHL All-Star festivities this weekend. We will be back on Monday for a brand new episode 103 of Catfish on Ice. Stay tuned for that. Have an outstanding weekend. Take care, everybody.
Have a good one.